Listen to me, this is your life we're talking about. Your peace, your sanity, your future. I don't care how much you love them, how long you've been together, or how much you hope they'll change. If you're dealing with a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, you need to wake up before it's too late. This kind of person, they don't just break hearts, they break spirits. They destroy confidence, and they leave you questioning your own reality. If you've ever felt like you're drowning in their chaos, if you've ever second-guessed yourself over and over again, wondering, is it me? Am I the problem? Then it's time to stop ignoring the signs. It's time to see the truth, because let me tell you something. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't even realize you're in. And the scariest part, if you don't recognize what's happening, you might stay locked in that prison for years, maybe even for life. So let's break the chains. Here are the 9 key signs you might be dealing with a malignant narcissist or a psychopath. Sign 1, they lack genuine empathy. Empathy is the ability to feel what another person feels, to step into their shoes and understand their pain, joy, or struggles. It's the foundation of true connection, the invisible thread that ties people together in relationships, friendships, and families. But when you're dealing with a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, that thread doesn't exist. They might pretend to care, they might say the right words, and they might even mimic emotional responses, but deep down, there is nothing. No true concern, no real warmth, just an empty space where empathy should be. You might find yourself pouring your heart out to them, sharing your deepest pain, only to be met with indifference, dismissal, or even amusement. And that's when you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're expecting too much, if you're being unfair, if maybe they just express love differently. But the truth is, they don't feel it the way you do. They see emotions as tools, things to be used for manipulation, control, and personal gain. Your tears don't move them. Your struggles don't shake them. Your happiness doesn't bring them joy unless it benefits them. They lack the fundamental human quality that makes relationships genuine. A person without genuine empathy operates in a way that is foreign to most people. While a normal person might instinctively feel bad when they see someone suffering, a narcissist or psychopath sees an opportunity. They might offer fake sympathy, a well-timed hug, or a few carefully chosen words, but not because they care. They do it because it serves a purpose: to gain your trust, to keep you under their control, or to make themselves look good in front of others. Their kindness is never about you, it's always about them. This is why so many people find themselves trapped in toxic cycles with these individuals. At first, they seem loving, attentive, even protective. But over time, the mask slips. You begin to notice that their concern only appears when they need something. When you're at your lowest, instead of comforting you, they might get annoyed, tell you you're overreacting, or even use your pain against you later. They lack the instinct to comfort, to reassure, to uplift. They only imitate these things when necessary. What makes it even more dangerous is that they understand how empathy works, even if they don't feel it. This allows them to manipulate those who do have it. They watch, they observe, they learn what moves people emotionally, and then they use that knowledge to their advantage. If they know you respond to kindness, they'll play the role of the caring partner. If they know you crave validation, they'll shower you with compliments until they don't need to anymore. They can say, "I love you," with a straight face, even when they don't mean it. They can comfort you with words that seem heartfelt, even when they're calculating their next move. And this is what makes dealing with them so confusing. Because the moments where they seem to care feel real. You cling to those moments, you tell yourself that deep down, they must have a heart. But in reality, they're just using what they've learned about emotions to keep you exactly where they want you. When you love someone who lacks empathy, you end up doing all the emotional heavy lifting. You excuse their coldness, their lack of response, their inability to meet you in your moments of need. You tell yourself they didn't mean to hurt you, that they're just different, that maybe they had a tough childhood. You rationalize the pain they cause because you want to believe that deep down they care. But here's the truth. If someone truly cares, you don't have to guess. Real love, real empathy doesn't leave you feeling emotionally starved. It doesn't make you feel invisible when you're struggling. A person who lacks empathy doesn't see your emotions as something to honor. They see them as something to ignore, exploit, or dismiss. And that dismissal, that lack of emotional reciprocity, is what slowly drains the life out of a relationship. You keep giving, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But they won't, because they don't think the way you do. Their lack of empathy shows up in every part of your relationship, even in the small things. Let's say you've had a rough day and all you need is a listening ear. You come to them hoping for comfort, and what do? Maybe they brush you off. Maybe they change the subject. Or maybe they turn it around and make it about themselves. You might hear, "You think you had a bad day? Let me tell you what I went through." Instead of supporting you, they compete with you. Instead of caring about your struggles, they use them as a platform to talk about their own. And if they do listen, it often feels empty, like they're just waiting for you to finish so they can move on. There's no warmth in their responses, no effort to truly connect with what you're saying. And over time, that takes a toll on your heart. You begin to feel alone, even when you're with them. But the worst part? When you call them out on it. If you ever point out their lack of empathy, if you ever say, "I don't feel like you care about me," they won't reflect or try to understand. Instead, they'll turn it back on you. You're too sensitive, you expect too much, you're overreacting. They'll make you question your own feelings, making you wonder if maybe you really are being unreasonable. But let me tell you something, you're not asking for too much by expecting basic human decency. A person who truly loves you will want to understand you, to be there for you, to make you feel valued. A person who lacks empathy will make you feel guilty for even wanting those things. They will condition you to accept emotional neglect as normal, and that is how you lose yourself. This lack of empathy doesn't just affect how they treat you, it affects how they treat everyone. Pay attention to how they talk about others, how they react to people in pain. Do they seem indifferent to suffering? Do they laugh at other people's misfortunes? Do they enjoy tearing others down? If they do, it's not just a personality quirk, it's a red flag. A person without empathy doesn't care who they hurt, as long as they get what they want. They might put on a charming front in public, but behind closed doors, their true nature comes out. You might hear them say things that shock you, cold, cruel statements about people who are struggling. And when you react with disbelief, they might smirk, act like it's a joke, or dismiss it as nothing. But it's not nothing. It's a sign of who they really are. The longer you stay around someone who lacks empathy, the more it chips away at your own emotional well-being. You start suppressing your feelings, convincing yourself that your pain is invalid because they don't acknowledge it. You become used to being unheard, unseen, unappreciated. And the saddest part? You might even start mirroring their behavior. You might find yourself becoming numb, shutting down emotionally, learning not to expect kindness or warmth. That's what happens when you stay in an environment devoid of empathy. You begin to adapt to it, even when it's destroying you. And that's why recognizing this early is so important, because you deserve more than this. You deserve to be around people who feel deeply, who care, who listen, who respond with kindness and understanding. A person without empathy will never be that for you, and no amount of love on your part will change that. When someone lacks genuine empathy, they don't just hurt you, they make you feel like your emotions are burdens. They teach you that your pain is inconvenient, that your needs are too much, that your struggles don't matter. They will walk past your suffering like it's nothing. They will hear you crying and feel no real urge to comfort you. They will watch you break down and feel nothing but irritation or boredom. And yet, when they need something from you, they will expect endless understanding, endless patience, endless emotional support. They will demand what they never give in return. And that imbalance, that emotional starvation, is what eventually breaks even the strongest person. It's not just about being with someone who's not emotional. It's about being with someone who is incapable of true connection. Someone who, no matter how hard you try, will never truly care. Sign 2. They gaslight you into questioning your reality. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous and insidious forms of psychological manipulation, and when you are dealing with a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, it becomes their most powerful weapon. It is not just lying, it is reprogramming your mind. They do it slowly, subtly, over time, until you no longer trust your own thoughts, your own emotions, or even your own memory. They rewrite history right in front of you, deny things you know happened, and twist conversations so skillfully that you begin to wonder if you are the crazy one. And that's the goal. They don't want you to trust yourself. They want you to depend on them for your version of reality. When someone gaslights you, they are not just deceiving you, they are erasing your truth and replacing it with their own. You will find yourself apologizing for things that weren't your fault, doubting things you once knew for certain, and feeling like you are losing your mind. It happens gradually, little by little, until one day you wake up and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. That's how deep gaslighting goes. At first, gaslighting might seem like small things, things you dismiss as misunderstandings. Maybe you remember them saying something hurtful, and when you bring it up, they say, "I never said that. You imagining things." You feel a little confused, but you brush it off. Then it happens again. You recall an argument that left you in tears, but they insist that never happened. You're overreacting. The more it happens, the more you start doubting yourself. Did you misunderstand? Did you really imagine it? Over time, this mental confusion becomes your new normal. You hesitate before speaking up because you're no longer sure if what you remember is real. That's what they want. Because if you no longer trust your own mind, they have full control over it. They can rewrite any situation, any conversation, any moment to suit their narrative. And the more you let them do it, the more power they have over you. The true danger of gaslighting is that it isolates you from your own reality. When someone repeatedly tells you that your emotions are wrong, that your experiences didn't happen the way you remember, that your feelings are irrational, you stop believing in yourself. You stop trusting your instincts. Even when you feel deep in your gut that something is off, you second guess it. You tell yourself, maybe I'm just being dramatic. Maybe it really is me. That's the most heartbreaking part of gaslighting. It turns you against yourself. You become trapped inside your own mind, unable to tell the difference between truth and manipulation. And because they keep you in this cycle of doubt, you start depending on them more and more for reassurance, for validation, for a sense of what's real. And that's exactly what they want. To be the only voice you listen to. Gaslighting doesn't just make you question your past, it makes you afraid of the future. It creates a constant state of anxiety where you are always walking on eggshells, afraid to trust your own judgment. You become terrified of confrontation because every time you bring something up, they flip it back on you. You begin to accept their version of events, not because you believe it, but because arguing exhausts you. And that's another goal of gaslighting, to wear you down. They want you too tired, too drained, too mentally exhausted to fight back. They know if they keep denying, keep twisting, keep manipulating, eventually you will surrender. And once they break you, once they get you to stop resisting, they can do whatever they want, and you will accept it, not because you are weak, but because they have made you believe you have no other choice. One of the scariest things about gaslighting is that it happens so subtly, so gradually, that by the time you realize it's happening, you are already deep inside their trap. It doesn't happen overnight. They don't start by erasing your entire reality all at once. They start small, denying a word here, twisting a memory there, until it builds into something much bigger. They break you down piece by piece, memory by memory, until you no longer trust your own mind. And by then, leaving them feels impossible. Because they have convinced you that you are the problem, that you are the one who gets things wrong, that you are too sensitive, too emotional, too unreasonable. You don't just lose your sense of reality, you lose your sense of self. Gaslighting also makes you dependent on the very person who is destroying you. When someone constantly makes you doubt yourself, you start relying on them for clarity. You stop trusting your own memories, so you look to them for the correct version of events. You stop believing in your own emotions, so you wait for them to tell you how you should feel. You stop trusting your own instincts, so you let them decide what's right or wrong, and before you know it, you are completely under their control. Not because they forced you, but because they manipulated you into surrendering your own mind. And that's the most terrifying part of gaslighting. It doesn't just break you, it makes you willingly hand over your power. Another brutal effect of gaslighting is that it isolates you from others. The more they manipulate your reality, the harder it becomes to talk to people about what you're going through. How do you explain to someone that you're not even sure what's real anymore? How do you tell your friends and family that the person you love makes you question your own sanity? Gaslighting creates shame, and shame keeps you silent. You don't want people to think you're crazy, so you keep it to yourself. And that's exactly what they want. Because the more isolated you become, the easier you are to control. If you never tell anyone what's happening, there's no one to validate your reality. No one to remind you of the truth. No one to help you escape. And that's how they keep you trapped. Gaslighting also makes you fear your own emotions. They convince you that if you're upset, it's because you're irrational. If you're hurt, it's because you're overreacting. If you're angry, it's because you're being dramatic. Over time, you stop expressing your emotions altogether. You bottle everything up because you don't want to be accused of being crazy again. But suppressing your emotions doesn't make them go away. It just makes you feel more disconnected from yourself. You become numb, detached, a shadow of the person you used to be. That's what gaslighting does. It drains the life out of you until you are a shell of yourself. And by the time you realize what's happened, you don't even know how to find your way back. But the hardest part of gaslighting, trying to heal from it. Even after you leave, even after you break free. The damage doesn't disappear overnight. You will still doubt yourself. You will still question your own memories. You will still hear their voice in your head making you wonder if you were the problem all along. That's the power of psychological manipulation. It stays with you long after the abuser is gone. You will have to rebuild your trust in yourself piece by piece. You will have to remind yourself over and over again that your reality is valid, that your emotions are real, that your experiences mattered, and that you were never crazy, you were gaslighted, you were manipulated, you were made to doubt yourself because that was the only way they could control you. But you are not broken beyond repair. You can reclaim your mind, you can reclaim your truth, you can reclaim yourself. Sign 3, they are master manipulators. Manipulation is an art. And for a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, it is their greatest skill. They do not manipulate in obvious ways. They do it so subtly, so masterfully, that you don't even realize it's happening until you are already under their control. They twist words, exploit emotions, and play mind games with such precision that by the time you notice something is wrong, it's already too late. They know exactly what to say and how to say it. They know when to play the victim, when to act like the hero, and when to be the villain. And they switch between these roles effortlessly, depending on what benefits them the most. You think you are making your own choices, but you are not. They are pulling the strings, directing the outcome, ensuring that everything unfolds exactly as they planned. You do not see the manipulation happening because they make it feel natural, as if you are the one choosing to behave a certain way. That is what makes them so dangerous. They do not force you to comply. They make you believe that compliance was your idea all along, and that level of control is terrifying. They manipulate by using your emotions against you. If they know you are kind and compassionate, they will exploit that kindness to make you feel guilty whenever you try to stand up for yourself. If they know you crave validation, they will give you just enough praise to keep you hooked, only to take it away when you need it most. If they know you fear abandonment, they will push you to your breaking point, then pull you back in just before you walk away. They study you, learning your strengths and weaknesses, your dreams and insecurities, your hopes and fears. And then they use that knowledge not to uplift you, but to control you. Every compliment, every apology, every act of kindness has an agenda behind it. Nothing they do is truly selfless. Every action is carefully calculated to serve their own interests. And because they disguise their manipulation as love, as concern, as guidance, you don't recognize it for what it is. You tell yourself they are just difficult or complicated. But in reality, they are orchestrating a psychological game that only they understand. And you are unknowingly playing right into their hands. One of the most effective ways they manipulate is by creating confusion. They never give you straight answers. They never let you feel secure in your understanding of a situation. If you catch them in a lie, they will twist the story, change details, and make you question what really happened. If they say something hurtful, then later deny saying it, you are left wondering if you imagined it. If you confront them about their behavior, they will turn the conversation around until you are the one apologizing. You will feel like you are constantly trying to solve a puzzle that has no solution, always searching for clarity but never finding it. This mental exhaustion is intentional. They keep you in a state of uncertainty so that you rely on them to make sense of things. They make you doubt your own ability to think clearly, to make decisions, to trust your own judgment. And the more confused you become, the more power they have over you. Because a person who is mentally drained, constantly second-guessing themselves, is a person who is easier to control. Another key tactic they use is guilt tripping. They make you feel responsible for their happiness, their failures, their emotional well-being. If they are upset, it's your fault. If they lash out in anger, you provoke them. If they cheat or betray you, you push them to do it. No matter what happens, the blame always lands on you. And because you are a good-hearted person who doesn't want to hurt anyone, you accept that blame. You bend over backward trying to fix things, trying to keep the peace, trying to be better so that they won't be upset again. But the truth is, no matter what you do, it will never be enough, because they are not looking for solutions, they are looking for control. The more guilt you feel, the more power they have. They keep you trapped in a cycle of blame and self-doubt, making you believe that if you just tried harder, if you just changed a little more, then maybe things would be different. But they won't be, because their goal is not resolution. Their goal is manipulation. They also manipulate by giving and withholding affection. At first, they shower you with love, attention, and admiration. They make you feel special, wanted, deeply valued. This is called love bombing, and it is designed to get you addicted to their validation. But once they know you are hooked, they start pulling away. The compliments stop, the affection disappears, and suddenly you are left feeling like you have done something wrong. You begin chasing that love, trying to get back to the version of them that made you feel so special in the beginning. But that version was never real. It was an illusion, a carefully crafted act designed to make you dependent on them. And now that they have you, they know they can withhold love whenever they want, using it as a tool to control you. You learn to earn their approval, walking on eggshells, desperately trying to do whatever it takes to get back in their good graces. And in the process, you lose yourself. Because you are no longer acting out of your own free will, you are acting out of a fear of losing their love. They also use triangulation to manipulate you, bringing a third person into the dynamic to make you feel insecure. They might constantly talk about how much attention they get from others, making you feel like you have to compete for their love. They might compare you to an ex, a friend, or even a stranger, subtly making you feel like you are never quite enough. Or they might actually involve another person romantically, using jealousy as a weapon to keep you feeling uncertain and off balance. The goal is always the same, to make you feel replaceable. Because if you believe you are easily discarded, you will try harder to please them, to prove your worth, to keep them happy, and that's exactly what they want. They manipulate your fear of abandonment, your insecurities, your need for reassurance, all to keep you in a position of emotional dependence. Another way they manipulate is through playing the victim. No matter what happens, they always have a sob story ready. If you catch them lying, they claim they only lie because they were scared of losing you. If they treat you badly, they say they are just damaged from their past and need your understanding. If you try to walk away, they suddenly become helpless, lost, in desperate need of your support. They know exactly how to trigger your empathy, how to make you feel sorry for them even when they are the ones hurting you. And because you have a kind heart, you fall for it. You convince yourself that they are just wounded and that if you love them enough, they will change. But they won't, because they are not actually victims. They are master manipulators, using your compassion against you, making sure you always feel too guilty to leave. They also manipulate by creating chaos. They stir up drama, create problems where none exist, and keep things in a constant state of tension. One moment they act like everything is perfect, and the next they are picking a fight over something meaningless. This unpredictability keeps you in a state of anxiety, never knowing what will set them off next. And because you never know when the next explosion will come, you start adjusting your behavior to avoid it. You become hypervigilant, always trying to keep them happy, always anticipating their moods, always trying to prevent another blow up. But no matter how careful you are, it never works, because the chaos is intentional. It is a way to keep you distracted, to keep you so focused on managing them that you don't have time to stop and think about how toxic the relationship has become. And the scariest part, they are so good at it that you don't even realize you are being manipulated. You excuse their behavior. You justify their actions. You tell yourself that they didn't mean it, that they just need help, that things will get better. But deep down, a part of you knows the truth. A part of you feels the exhaustion, the confusion, the slow erosion of your own sense of self. That is what master manipulators do. They don't just deceive you, they reshape your entire reality, bending it to fit their will, making sure that in the end, they are the ones in control. Sign 7, they punish you with silent treatment and emotional withdrawal. They don't have to yell at you, insult you, or physically hurt you to break you down. No, their methods are far more calculated. When they are unhappy with you, when you don't comply with their demands, when you do something that threatens their control, they will punish you in silence. They will suddenly go cold, distant, and unresponsive. They will act as if you don't exist, as if your presence means nothing, as if you are completely invisible. They know that the silence will eat away at you, that the emptiness will feel unbearable, that the withdrawal of attention and affection will leave you desperate for their approval again, and that is exactly what they want. Because their silence isn't about needing space or cooling off from an argument. It is about control. It is about making you feel powerless, unworthy, and small. It is about forcing you into submission without ever having to raise their voice. And the longer they withhold their presence, the more you feel like you are the one who needs to apologize, like you are the one who needs to fix things, like you are the one who is responsible for making the pain stop. At first, the silent treatment might seem like a temporary reaction, like something that will pass with time. But the more it happens, the more you realize that this is a pattern, a tactic they use whenever they want to regain control. They won't tell you what's wrong. They won't communicate what upset them. They will just pull away, retreat into silence, and let the weight of their absence crush you. And because you don't know what you did wrong, because you are left alone in the darkness of their rejection, you start analyzing everything, replaying every conversation, questioning every action, wondering what mistake you made. You become trapped in your own mind, blaming yourself for their coldness, believing that you must be the one at fault. And that is exactly where they want you to be, in a constant state of uncertainty, desperate to win their love back, willing to do anything just to make them acknowledge you again. Because once you start begging for their attention, they know they have won. They know they have you exactly where they want you. Dependent, anxious, and afraid of losing them. The silent treatment is not just painful, it is designed to break your spirit. It makes you feel like you don't matter, like your emotions are insignificant, like your presence is completely irrelevant unless you are pleasing them. It makes you feel like your love is one-sided, that they can take it away at any moment without warning. And because the silence is unpredictable, because you never know when it will happen or how long it will last, you start living in fear. You start monitoring your words, suppressing your feelings, avoiding any topic that might upset them, because the last thing you want is to be punished again. You start losing yourself, sacrificing your own needs, walking on eggshells just to keep them happy. And even when the silence finally ends, even when they decide to acknowledge you again, you don't feel relieved, you feel trapped. Because deep down, you know that the next time you upset them, the next time you try to stand up for yourself, the next time you refuse to do what they want, they will do it all over again. Their silence speaks louder than words. It tells you, you are only valuable to me when you obey. It tells you, I can erase you whenever I want. It tells you, your feelings don't matter. And after enough cycles of this treatment, you start to believe it. You start to feel like you are disposable, like your worth is entirely dependent on their approval. And that is where the real damage happens, not just in the pain of their silence, but in the way it rewires your mind, in the way it conditions you to accept less and less love. Because once they have trained you to chase after them, to beg for their affection, to feel grateful for even the smallest sign of attention, they know they have complete control. They know that they can withhold love, affection, and connection anytime they want, and that you will always come running back, desperate to make things right. The worst part is that when they finally do acknowledge you again, they act like nothing ever happened. They return to normal as if their silence didn't leave you broken, as if their absence didn't make you feel unwanted and unloved. And because you are so relieved that the silence is over, because you have been starving for their attention, you don't even ask for an apology. You don't question why they ignored you, why they made you suffer, why they treated you like you were invisible. You just accept it, happy that they are finally paying attention to you again. And that is how they keep the cycle going. They train you to accept their emotional withdrawal as normal. They condition you to believe that love is something you have to earn, something that can be taken away at any moment if you don't meet their expectations. And the more you tolerate it, the harder it becomes to see how deeply they are destroying you from the inside out. They don't just withdraw their words. They withdraw every form of connection. They stop making eye contact. They avoid touching you. They refuse to acknowledge your existence in any way. They can be sitting in the same room as you, but their presence feels as distant as if they were 1,000 miles away. And that kind of emotional coldness, that kind of deliberate rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. It is designed to make you feel small, insignificant, and utterly powerless. It is designed to make you crave their attention so desperately that you will do anything to get it back. And once they see that desperation in your eyes, once they see how much their silence is breaking you, they know that they have all the power. They know that they can continue treating you this way because you will always come back, always try harder, always accept less and less from them. Their emotional withdrawal is a form of psychological warfare. It is meant to weaken you, to make you dependent on their approval, to ensure that you never challenge them again. And over time, it changes you. It makes you afraid to express your feelings, afraid to have needs, afraid to speak up for yourself. It makes you feel like you don't deserve love unless you earn it. And that is the most dangerous part, because love should never be something you have to beg for. Love should never be something that is weaponized against you. But when you are trapped in this cycle, when their silence has conditioned you to fear abandonment, you start to believe that this is just how love works. You start to believe that you have to accept the pain if you want to keep them in your life. Even when you try to fight back, even when you try to break free from their control, the silent treatment has already done its damage. You have been conditioned to fear rejection, to crave validation, to feel worthless without their attention. And that is what keeps you stuck. That is what keeps you coming back, apologizing for things you didn't do, trying harder and harder to please someone who will never truly love you, because in their world, love is not about connection. It is about power. It is about keeping you weak, desperate, and willing to accept anything just to feel seen again. And as long as they know that their silence can break you, they will continue using it. Because for them, the silent treatment isn't just a way to avoid conflict. It is a way to control your mind, your emotions, and your entire sense of self-worth. Sign 8. They use love as a weapon. They don't love you in the way you deserve to be loved. They don't love you with kindness, consistency, or honesty. They love you as a tool for control, as a way to keep you hooked, as a means to break you down and build you back up on their terms. Their love isn't pure. It isn't genuine. It is a weapon, something they use to manipulate, confuse, and condition you into believing that they are the most important thing in your life. One moment they are showering you with affection, telling you that you are the best thing that ever happened to them. They make you feel like you are the center of their world, like you have finally found the love you always dreamed of. But then, without warning, they take it all away. They become cold, distant, and different. They withhold affection, stop complimenting you, stop touching you, stop showing interest. And because you have already experienced the high of their love, because they have already made you feel so special, you become desperate to get it back. That is how they trap you, by making you chase the love they once gave so freely, only to keep it just out of reach. Their love is a game of power. They give it and take it away whenever they please, keeping you in a constant state of uncertainty. You never know when they will be kind, when they will be cruel, when they will show affection, and when they will turn ice cold. They make sure that you are always guessing, always walking on eggshells, always adjusting yourself to meet their shifting standards. And because their love is unpredictable, because you never know what will set them off, you start to believe that the problem is you. You think, maybe if I try harder, they will love me the way they used to. Maybe if I change myself, they will finally treat me the way I deserve. But no matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, it is never enough. Because they don't want you to feel secure in their love. They want you to feel dependent on it. They want you to feel like their love is a privilege, not a right. Something you have to earn, something that can be taken away at any moment if you don't meet their expectations. They use love as a reward and a punishment. When you please them, when you do what they want, when you make them feel powerful, they flood you with affection. They pull you in close, make you feel special, tell you everything you want to hear. They create an emotional high that feels intoxicating, making you believe that everything is finally okay again. But the moment you step out of line, the moment you question them, the moment you try to stand up for yourself, they rip it all away. They withdraw completely, acting as if you mean nothing to them. They ignore you, criticize you, make you feel like you are unworthy of their love. And because you have already felt the warmth of their affection, because you know what they are capable of when they choose to be kind, you start blaming yourself for the coldness. You tell yourself that if you just behave better, love them more, sacrifice a little more of yourself, then maybe they will return to the person you fell in love with. And that is exactly how they keep you trapped. By making you believe that their love is something you have to fight for, something that you have to earn over and over again. They make you dependent on their approval. They train you to crave their love like a drug, making you addicted to their validation. When they give you love, you feel on top of the world. You feel special, chosen, irreplaceable. But when they take it away, you feel empty, anxious, desperate to get it back. They create a cycle where you are always chasing them, always proving yourself, always trying to be good enough. And the deeper you fall into this pattern, the more you lose sight of yourself. You forget what real love is supposed to feel like. You forget that love isn't supposed to hurt like this. You forget that love isn't supposed to feel like a constant battle for approval. But by the time you realize how deeply they have conditioned you, it feels too late. Because by then you have already convinced yourself that this is the best love you will ever get. They weaponize love to control your emotions. One day they are your best friend, your soulmate, your safe place. The next, they are your worst enemy, your biggest source of pain, your deepest wound. They create an emotional roller coaster that leaves you exhausted, confused, and constantly seeking their approval. They make you feel like you can't live without them. Like they are the only person who will ever truly love you. Like you are nothing without their presence. And because they have made you so emotionally dependent, because they have tied your self-worth to their affection, they know that you will do anything to keep them happy. They know that you will tolerate things you never should have accepted, that you will endure pain just for the chance to feel their love again. And that is the most dangerous part. Because the longer you stay, the more you start to believe that this is just how love works. That love is supposed to be painful. That love is supposed to be earned. They use false hope to keep you in their grip. Just when you start to think about leaving, they suddenly become the person you fell in love with again. They apologize, promise to change, tell you how much they love you. They remind you of the good times, the moments of laughter, the times when things felt perfect. They make you believe that if you just hold on a little longer, if you just love them a little harder, everything will finally be okay. But it never is. Because the kindness doesn't last. The love doesn't stay. The cycle always starts over again. And each time it does, it breaks you a little more, conditions you a little deeper, makes you feel like leaving isn't an option anymore. Because by then they have convinced you that love means suffering, that love means sacrifice, that love means accepting whatever they decide to give you, no matter how little, no matter how painful. They make you believe that their love is rare, that no one else will ever love you the way they do. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind, making you fear that if you walk away, you will be alone forever. They tell you that you are difficult to love, that no one else will ever understand you, that you are lucky to have them. And because they have already broken down your confidence, because they have already made you feel like you are nothing without them, you start to believe it. You start to believe that leaving means losing everything, that even though their love is painful, at least it is something. And that is how they keep you in their world. That is how they keep you under their control. Because they have used love as a weapon for so long that you no longer know what real love is supposed to feel like. They don't love you, they possess you. They don't cherish you, they control you. They don't want to see you happy, they want to see you dependent. And as long as they know that their love is something you crave, they will continue to use it against you, to break you down, to keep you exactly where they want you, under their thumb, trapped in their world, believing that love is supposed to feel like pain. Sign 9. They will discard you like you never mattered. At first, you were everything to them. You were the center of their world, the person they couldn't live without. They told you that you were the one, the person they had always been looking for, the one who made them feel complete. They showered you with affection, made you feel special, like no one had ever mattered to them more than you did. You thought you were in the best place you could be, surrounded by love, attention, and validation, but then out of nowhere, they turned cold. They begin to withdraw emotionally, physically, and mentally. You try to reach out, try to understand what went wrong, but they remain distant, almost as if you no longer exist in their life. And then comes the crushing realization, the slow, painful truth that all those promises, all those declarations of love, all those moments of joy and connection were nothing more than a manipulation. It wasn't love. It was a temporary tool to keep you attached to them. And now that they have drained you of your emotional resources, they discard you with no explanation, no remorse, like you were nothing more than a passing phase, a blip on the radar of their life. They don't care how much you love them. They don't care about the time and energy you invested in the relationship, the sacrifices you made, or the emotional labor you did to keep things going. When they decide they are done with you, they don't feel the need to give closure or an explanation. You are just another chapter in their story, easily erased and replaced. You become just another person they used, and once they've gotten what they wanted from you, whether that's validation, emotional support, or simply someone to fill the void in their life, they move on. They don't look back. They don't think about you. You are no longer part of their narrative. You were never as important as you thought. In their eyes, you are expendable, a tool to be discarded when it no longer serves a purpose. And that's the hardest part to swallow. The realization that to them, you were never more than a stepping stone, someone to pass the time with until something better came along. And when that moment comes, they will drop you like a stone, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. When they decide they're done, they won't fight for the relationship. They won't try to work things out. They won't make an effort to fix what's broken. Instead, they will ghost you, disappearing from your life with no explanation. They will act like you never existed, as if the love, the memories, the experiences you shared together were just meaningless. You might have thought you meant something to them, that you were special, that the bond you shared was real. But when they discard you, they will make you feel like you were nothing more than a convenience, a temporary fixture in their life. All the love you gave, all the care you showed will be forgotten in an instant, swept away like dust. And the worst part is they will do it with such ease, without even a second thought. For them, the relationship was never about love or connection. It was about control. Once they no longer need you, once you are no longer useful to their agenda, they will cut ties without hesitation. And you will be left wondering where everything went wrong, why you weren't enough, why they suddenly turned on you and treated you like you never mattered. They might try to justify their actions by blaming you for the breakdown of the relationship. They will find ways to make you feel like you were the one who failed, the one who caused the destruction of what you once had. But don't be fooled. It's just another way for them to protect their ego, another tactic to avoid accountability. They want you to believe that you are the problem, that you are the one who wasn't enough, so that they can walk away without feeling guilty. They will turn the situation around and make it all about you. But the truth is, they didn't care about you in the first place. They only cared about what you could do for them, about how you made them feel in the moment. When you stop serving their needs, or when you no longer fit their idea of what they want, they will discard you like trash. It doesn't matter how much you loved them, how much you gave them, or how much you tried to make things work. To them, it was never about the relationship. It was about what they could get from you. And once they have exhausted their supply, they will move on without a second thought. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a means to an end. You are a tool to be used, manipulated, and controlled. They don't care about your feelings, your dreams, your pain, or your desires. You are just a temporary fixture in their life that they will dispose of once they no longer need you. And when they do discard you, they will show no remorse. They won't care about the emotional toll they've taken on you. They won't care about the tears you've cried, the sleepless nights, or the shattered pieces of your heart. All they will care about is how easily they can move on to the next person they can use to meet their needs. And that is the most painful part, knowing that you meant nothing to them. All the moments you shared, all the love you gave, all the sacrifices you made, they were never really appreciated. You were just another part of their game, a pawn in their quest for control and validation. And when they no longer have use for you, they will leave you behind without hesitation. The discarding phase is like being ripped apart from the inside out. You've already been subjected to the emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, and the emotional withdrawal. But this is the final blow, the moment when they show you just how little you meant to them. They will make sure that you are left with nothing. They will ignore your calls, block you on social media, and refuse to communicate with you in any way. They will act as if you never existed, as if you were just a passing stranger. The love you once shared, the memories you once made, will disappear into thin air, and you will be left devastated, trying to make sense of what just happened. You will feel like you have been erased from their life, as if you were never important, never loved. It's one of the cruelest forms of emotional abuse because it makes you question everything you thought you knew about the relationship. It makes you doubt your own worth, your own value, and it leaves you broken, asking yourself why you weren't enough. They will discard you as if you never mattered, but that is a lie. You mattered more than they will ever admit. You gave them your heart, your soul, your time, and your energy. You poured everything you had into the relationship, and they took it all without ever giving back. And when they were finished, when they had used you up, they walked away without a second thought. leaving you with nothing but the emotional wreckage they left behind. It will feel like a betrayal of the highest degree. You will wonder how they could just erase you so easily, how they could treat you like you were never part of their life. But the truth is, they never cared about you the way you cared about them. They didn't love you, they loved what you could do for them. And once they had gotten everything they needed, they cast you aside. You were never more than a temporary distraction, a placeholder, until something better came along. And when that something better arrived, you were discarded without a second glance. And that's the heart-wrenching truth. You were never truly loved. You were used, manipulated, and tossed away when they no longer had any use for you. They will leave you shattered, confused, and alone, wondering what went wrong. But don't fall into the trap of thinking you weren't enough. You were more than enough. But to them, it was never about love. It was always about control, about using you for their own selfish gain, and then casting you aside when they no longer had a need for you. And the hardest part is realizing that you were never the problem. The problem was them. They didn't know how to love. They didn't know how to treat you with the respect and care you deserved. And when they discarded you, it wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their own brokenness. If these signs sound familiar, don't wait for the next heartbreak, the next betrayal, the next emotional wound. Your survival depends on your ability to recognize the truth and take action. They won't change, but you can, and you must, because you, my friend, are not meant to live in someone else's nightmare. You were born to break free. So now the question is, will you? Sign 4. They thrive on chaos and destruction. Chaos is not just something they create, it is something they need. A normal person craves stability, peace, and healthy relationships, but for a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, stability is boring. They are energized by dysfunction, by tension, by conflict. When things are calm, they stir the pot. When things are going well, they find a way to sabotage them. They do not thrive in environments of peace and harmony. They thrive in chaos and destruction. And the worst part, they make it seem like the chaos is always your fault. If there's a fight, it's because you provoked it. If things go wrong, it's because you overreacted. If they hurt you, it's because you made them do it. No matter what happens, they find a way to shift the blame so that they are never responsible. And because you care, because you don't want to be the problem, you try harder to keep the peace. But there is no peace to be kept. They don't want peace, they want control. And the easiest way to control someone is to keep them constantly off balance, trapped in a world where they never know what's coming next. Destruction is a game to them. They push buttons, provoke reactions, and enjoy watching the fallout. It gives them a sense of power, a sense of control. They will pick a fight over the smallest thing, turning a minor issue into a full-blown battle. They will twist words, rewrite history, and make you feel like you're losing your mind just to watch you break down. And the most disturbing part, they do it on purpose. They don't argue to resolve problems, they argue to create them. They don't fight to make things better, they fight to watch you suffer. Because when you are exhausted, when you are confused, when you are emotionally drained, they know you are easier to manipulate. They don't need you to be happy. They need you to be weakened. And every argument, every crisis, every explosion is designed to drain your strength so that you are too tired to fight back, too tired to leave, too tired to see them for who they really are. That is why they thrive on chaos. Because a broken person is easier to control than a whole one. They don't just create chaos in your relationship. They create chaos in every area of your life. They start problems between you and your friends, spreading lies and half-truths to turn people against you. They stir up drama in your family, making you feel like you have to choose between them and the people who love you. They disrupt your career, planting seeds of doubt, making you feel like you're not good enough, like you don't deserve success. They want you isolated, unstable, and unsure of yourself because that makes it harder for you to leave. The more drama they create, the more you lean on them for stability, not realizing that they are the ones who caused the instability in the first place. That's the trap. They break you, then make you believe that they are the only one who can fix you. And once you are trapped in their world of chaos, breaking free feels impossible. Because by the time you realize what's happening, they have already convinced you that the problem isn't them, it's you. They are addicted to destruction. The more they tear things down, the more powerful they feel. If something is going well, they ruin it. If a relationship is thriving, they sabotage it. If you are happy, they find a way to make you miserable. They cannot stand to see others at peace because peace reminds them of everything they will never have. They are empty inside, and the only way they can fill that emptiness is by taking from others, taking their joy, their confidence, their security. They will build you up just to watch you fall, praise you just to tear you down, give you hope just to crush it. And they do it over and over again, watching as you try to pick up the pieces, knowing that the more broken you are, the more power they have. That is why they never stop creating chaos, because for them, destruction is not just a habit, it is a way of life. They don't just destroy relationships, they destroy your sense of self. They make you question your worth, your intelligence, your ability to function without them. They make you believe that without them, you will have nothing, no love, no support, no future. They break you down slowly, piece by piece, until you no longer recognize yourself. The person you were before you met them, the confident, happy, strong version of you, starts to fade away. You become someone you don't even recognize, someone who accepts treatment you never would have tolerated before. And that is exactly what they want. Because a person who has lost themselves is a person who is easier to control. They don't just want to destroy your relationships, your friendships, your peace of mind. They want to destroy you. Because the more shattered you are, the more dependent you become. And the more dependent you become, the more power they hold over you. Chaos is their way of keeping you distracted. When your life is constantly in turmoil, when you are always dealing with some new crisis, you don't have time to stop and think. You don't have time to reflect on how toxic things have become. You don't have time to realize that you deserve better. That is why they create chaos. Because as long as you are busy putting out fires, you won't notice that they are the one lighting the matches. They love watching you run in circles, trying to fix things, trying to make sense of things, trying to hold everything together, because as long as you are focused on survival, you won't focus on escaping. And that is their biggest fear. That one day you will wake up and see through the chaos. That one day you will realize that the peace you are searching for does not exist with them. That one day you will finally have the strength to walk away. But until that day comes, they will keep feeding off destruction. They will set traps, start arguments, create drama where there is none. They will keep you emotionally exhausted, constantly questioning yourself, always fighting battles that never should have existed in the first place. Because as long as they can keep the chaos alive, they can keep control over you. That is why they will never change. Because peace, love, and stability are not what they want. Power is. Sign 5. They never take accountability. No matter what they do, no matter how much damage they cause, they will never take responsibility for their actions. To them, admitting fault is unthinkable. It would mean acknowledging that they are not perfect, that they are not above reproach, that they are capable of being wrong. And that is something their ego simply cannot allow. Instead, they will twist the truth, rewrite history, and shift the blame onto anyone but themselves. If they hurt you, it's because you made them do it. If they fail at something, it's because someone sabotaged them. If they are caught in a lie, they will deny it so convincingly that you begin to wonder if you misunderstood the situation entirely. They will do whatever it takes to avoid being held accountable, even if it means destroying your sense of reality in the process. And the worst part? They do it so convincingly that after a while you start believing them. You start doubting your own perceptions, questioning your own feelings, and wondering if maybe, just maybe, you really are the problem. But you are not. The problem is that you are dealing with someone who sees accountability as a threat, not as a sign of maturity. They have a way of flipping the script in any situation. If you bring up something they did wrong, the conversation will quickly turn into what you did wrong instead. Suddenly you are on the defensive, trying to justify your own actions instead of holding them accountable for theirs. It doesn't matter how obvious their mistake is. It doesn't matter how much proof you have. They will find a way to twist things until you are the one apologizing. They are masters at playing the victim, making you feel guilty for even daring to question them. If they lie, they say they only lied because they didn't want to upset you. If they betray you, they claim they only did it because you pushed them away. If they lash out in anger, they insist they wouldn't have if you hadn't provoked them. No matter what happens, they are never at fault. There is always an excuse, always a justification, always a reason why they are the real victim in the situation. And over time, this pattern breaks you down, making you feel like you are constantly walking on eggshells, afraid to speak up because you know it will somehow be turned against you. When confronted with undeniable evidence, they will gaslight you into doubting reality. If you catch them in a lie, they will deny it with such confidence that you start to wonder if you imagined it. If you remind them of something they said, they will swear they never said it. If you recall something they did, they will tell you that you are misremembering or being dramatic. They are so skilled at twisting the truth that you begin to doubt your own memory, your own instincts, your own sanity. And once they have you questioning reality, they have all the power. Because a person who doubts themselves is a person who is easier to manipulate. That is why they never take accountability, because as long as they can keep you unsure, off balance, and doubting yourself, they can keep you under their control. It is not just about avoiding blame. It is about maintaining dominance, ensuring that they always have the upper hand in every situation. And the more they manipulate reality, the harder it becomes for you to see the truth, that they are the problem, not you. They use deflection as a weapon. Instead of answering direct questions, they change the subject. Instead of addressing their behavior, they bring up something you did months ago. Instead of apologizing, they attack. It's a never-ending cycle of avoidance and distraction designed to keep them from ever having to face themselves. If you catch them being dishonest, they will bring up a completely unrelated issue to steer the conversation away from their wrongdoing. If you tell them how they hurt you, they will immediately list all the ways you have hurt them. They will drag up the past, twist your words, and create so much chaos that you forget what the original issue even was. And before you know it, you are defending yourself instead of holding them accountable. That is their goal. They do not want resolution. They do not want to make things right. They want to win, to maintain their illusion of superiority, to ensure that they are never the one in the wrong. And they will do whatever it takes to make sure that no matter what happens, the blame always falls on someone else. They do not just refuse to take accountability in relationships. They refuse to take accountability in every area of life. If they fail at something, they will find someone to blame. If they lose a job, it was their boss's fault. If they have a falling out with a friend, it was because the friend was jealous. If they make a mistake, it was because they were misled, misunderstood, or mistreated. There is always an external force, some outside reason why they are not responsible for their own failures. And because they are so good at spinning stories, people believe them. They paint themselves as the misunderstood genius, the unlucky victim, the person who just can't catch a break. But the truth is, they are the common denominator in all of their problems. They refuse to look in the mirror, to acknowledge their own flaws, to admit that maybe, just maybe, their actions have consequences. Because to do that would shatter the illusion they have built, the lie they tell themselves and the world, that they are never the problem. They will rewrite history to avoid accountability. If they once admitted to doing something wrong, they will later deny ever saying it. If they once apologized for something, they will later insist that they never had anything to apologize for. They will claim that you misunderstood, exaggerated, or are making things up. They will distort events, change details, and tell outright lies to erase any trace of wrongdoing on their part. And if you push back, if you remind them of the truth, they will accuse you of being obsessed with the past, of being too sensitive, of refusing to move on. They will make you feel like you are the one holding on to negativity, when in reality you are simply trying to hold them accountable. But that is something they will never allow, because to them the past is not a record of events. It is a tool to be manipulated, rewritten, and weaponized to serve their own interests. And no matter how much proof you have, no matter how clearly you remember the truth, they will make sure that in the end, their version of reality is the one that wins. If you demand accountability, they will punish you for it. They will withdraw affection, give you the silent treatment, or lash out in anger. They will make you regret ever questioning them, ever expecting them to take responsibility. And over time, this trains you to stay silent. You learn that asking for an apology is pointless, that trying to hold them accountable will only lead to more pain. So you stop. You let things go. You convince yourself that it is not worth the fight. And that is exactly what they want. They want you to stop expecting fairness, to stop demanding respect, to stop believing that they should be held to the same standard as everyone else. Because the moment you stop expecting accountability, they have complete freedom to do whatever they want without consequences. That is their ultimate goal. Not just to avoid blame, but to create a reality where they are above blame, beyond criticism, untouchable. And as long as they can keep you afraid to challenge them, they can keep living in that illusion forever. Sign 6, they isolate you from friends and family. They don't just want control over your emotions, they want control over your entire world. And one of the most effective ways to do that is by isolating you from the people who love and support you. They don't want you to have a strong support system, because a strong support system means you have people who can see through their manipulation. It means you have people who can remind you of your worth, who can tell you when something isn't right, who can encourage you to walk away when things get toxic. That is a threat to their control. So they start by planting seeds of doubt. They make subtle comments about your friends and family, suggesting that they don't really care about you, that they are jealous, that they don't have your best interests at heart. Over time, these small remarks turn into bigger issues. They begin pointing out every flaw, every disagreement, every moment of tension between you and your loved ones, making you feel like your relationships are filled with problems. And before you even realize what's happening, you start distancing yourself, questioning the people who have always been there for you, and relying more and more on them for validation. At first, it seems like they are just looking out for you. They tell you that certain people in your life are toxic, that they don't support you, that they don't truly care. They might say things like, I just don't think they respect you the way I do. Or, I don't like how they treat you. You deserve better people in your life. And because you trust them, because you want to believe that they have your best interest at heart, you start listening to them. You start pulling away from your friends and family, second guessing their intentions, wondering if maybe they really don't care as much as you thought. But what you don't realize is that this is all by design. They aren't protecting you, they are isolating you. They are cutting you off from the people who see the truth, the people who can remind you of who you are, the people who can help you recognize that you are being controlled, and the more you pull away, the deeper you fall into their grasp. Once you start distancing yourself, they escalate their tactics. It's no longer just subtle comments, it becomes full-blown arguments. They pick fights whenever you make plans with friends, making you feel guilty for wanting to spend time with anyone but them. They start making you feel like you have to choose them or your loved ones. And because you don't want to upset them, because you are tired of the arguments, you start canceling plans. You start making excuses, telling yourself that maybe it's not a big deal, that maybe you should just stay home. And slowly your world becomes smaller. The friends who used to check in on you stop calling because they feel like you're always too busy. Your family starts to feel the distance, but every time they reach out, you hesitate because you know it will lead to another fight, another accusation, another moment of tension that you don't have the energy to deal with. And before you know it, you are alone exactly where they want you to be. They don't just want you isolated physically, they want you isolated emotionally. They start making you feel like they are the only person you can trust. They create problems between you and your loved ones, twisting conversations, manipulating situations, and making you believe that everyone else is against you. They tell you that your friends talk badly about you behind your back. They insist that your family doesn't support your relationship. They make you feel like no one truly understands you except them. And the more you believe this, the more you pull away. You start to feel like the world is against you, like your only safe place is with them. And that is exactly how they want you to feel. Because once you believe that they are the only person who truly loves you, you will tolerate things you never would have accepted before. You will stay in situations that are toxic, unhealthy, and painful because you think you have nowhere else to go. They use guilt and shame to keep you isolated. If you try to reconnect with your loved ones, they make you feel like you are betraying them. They act cold, distant, angry, punishing you in subtle ways for even thinking about reaching out. They might say things like, oh, so now you want to spend time with them? I guess I don't matter anymore. Or they might go silent, making you feel like you did something wrong. And because you don't want to hurt them, because you don't want to deal with the tension, you start choosing them over everyone else. You stop reaching out to friends. You decline invitations. You let relationships fade, and over time, you find yourself completely dependent on them. Emotionally, mentally, even physically. That is what they wanted all along. Because the more isolated you are, the more control they have. They don't just isolate you from your loved ones, they isolate you from yourself. They make you feel like your past relationships, your old friendships, your previous life weren't real. They rewrite history, making you believe that nothing before them mattered. They tell you that your family never truly supported you, that your friends never really had your back, that the people you used to love were never really there for you. And because they say it with such conviction, because they make you question your own reality, you start to believe them. You start to feel like your past relationships were never as strong as you thought they were. You start to feel like your old life wasn't as meaningful as you once believed. And the more disconnected you feel from your past, the more you cling to them. Because they have made you believe that they are the only thing in your life that is real. They create a false reality where they are the only person you can count on. And once they have you isolated, once they have you believing that you have no one else, they can do whatever they want without fear of consequences. They can treat you however they please, knowing that you have no one to turn to. They can lie, manipulate, and hurt you, knowing that there is no one left to tell you that you deserve better. And even if you start to see the truth, even if you begin to recognize that something is wrong, you feel trapped. Because by the time you realize what's happening, they have already convinced you that leaving means losing everything. And that is what keeps you stuck. That is what keeps you in their world. Because they have spent so much time isolating you, breaking you down, making you dependent on them, that the thought of leaving feels impossible. And that is exactly